It doesn't even make sense, and they have 3 or 4 licenses. Some people have 15 licenses. I think Emefiele was saying that earlier in the summer. Too many licenses. They're trying to crack down. So on one hand, every week the CB it's like economical sabotage, whereby you are really, really killing yourself. And how do you expect that to function? So I understand that's a problem that you have to tackle, but also there's the fact that the CBN only controls 15% of the currency. You know, 85% are all the big men that have it in their soccer way, or some have it in their village. Hello. Welcome to another episode of Lost Lagosians, a podcast covering topics about Lagosians, Nigerians, and Africans in and out of Africa. I'm your host, Brother Mike. Yeah, welcome, guys. So I'm here with Brother Johnson. We were together on the call, I think 2 episodes ago, and there was a very viral episode where we talked about executive recklessness. So today you are in for another treat. As we talk about a few things, a few things going on in Nigeria. So the time of this recording, this is here in November of 2022. So kind of wrapping up the year. Brad Johnson, how are you doing? How are things going on with you?
Really good. Excited to be here with you. Always a pleasure to see you and catch up and discuss about things that are going on in our motherland.
Yeah. No, thank you for being a repeat. Always nice to have folks come back. So I wasn't probably too mean the last time, so that's good. Thank you for being here.
well, I prefer when my hosts are nicer. So
right. I try. So one thing I was kind of looking at was with the Naira. I mean, this week Naira crossed about 840, 850 Naira to the US dollar.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, it's a Nigerian circumstance. Recently, the part of what I believe has caused this, this devaluation of the Naira that we've seen has been the recent CBN policy to redesign the Naira. And as a result of that, money that has not been in circulation for like a long time, people just suddenly have begun to bring their Nairas that they've, put hidden in, sockaways and under the ground and all of that. And, they're just coming from money is coming from every left, right, and center, and it's flooding the market. So, and a lot of these folks who have, perhaps people who have ill-gotten wealth, they wouldn't necessarily take their money to the bank to have it, changed. The only way they can get value for their money would be to bring it to the black market and convert it to dollar. So as a result of this oversupply of Naira and, it's, in my opinion, I believe that has been the primary cause of the recent hike in the exchange rate. So.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, the 200 Naira, 500 Naira, 1,000 Naira, and the old legal notes will cease to be legal tenders as of January 31, 2023. In other words, the Nigerian government has decided to give the Naira an uplift, a much needed uplift.
So
this is all economics 101, demand and supply, where you have too much supply of Naira. In the market, definitely the price or the value of Naira will fall because there's just too much. It's just, so I definitely agree with Brad Johnson on that theory. It's just econs 101. So you have a lot of Naira, so there's just too much Naira in the circulation. So we have to kind of, clean it up. And what that does is the Naira is basically just like falling to its face at this point. I hope it doesn't go up to 1,000 by the end of the year. Some people are speculating, especially in light of the upcoming election in February of next year.
Yeah, and members of the opposition party, the PDP, specifically the current governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, he has been saying that the redesign of the 200, 500, and 1,000 Naira notes so close to the presidential election is politically motivated. Perhaps he believes that the current ruling party has decided to do this as a way of punishing the current opposition, because perhaps they may have a lot of this old naira stacked up, and it's within the next couple of weeks is going to cease to be legal tender. So it's like they feel that this is a move by the current ruling party to weaken their financial muscle. So
yeah. I can relate to that. There are a lot of theories, actually. One of the theories given by Godwin Emefiele, the CBN governor, was that where you have, let's say you have 100% of the Naira that the CBN controls, about 85% of that money, which according to what the CBN is reporting, is about 3.23 trillion Naira. So out of 3.23 trillion Naira, in circulation, over 85% of that money, that's 2.73 trillion naira, it's outside of the banking system. So in a developed country, that would never happen. In other words, the CBN, the Treasury here in the US, they have a tight grip on the amount of dollar printed to the dollar. In terms of the number, I happen to be someone who've actually visited the Treasury in Washington, D.C., and they have this very, very tight regulation on each Naira. In fact, in the U.S., there's some people that actually make fun of tracking where, I don't know if you've seen that, Brad Johnson, tracking where your dollar has been.
Okay, fair enough.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't suppose I've seen that, but that's something that I'm curious about.
Yeah, so the idea is every dollar has a journey from cradle to grave.
It has a journey.
I have actually been the one that have been fantasized by that. So I can track where this $1 bill, number 1047890, I know where it is. There's a website whereby you can write it's just kind of a little fun game to show you that the government has a tight control policy on every dollar.
Yeah.
So if you have a country like Nigeria where 85% of the currency
is
outside of regular government doesn't know where it is. So in a layman's term, my understanding of the reprinting rather is just so that they can be able to reissue them and
retrack them. Yeah.
Yes, knock on wood, be able to track them. By tracking them, the government can have more monetary, fiscal.
Yeah, they are more able to get that tax revenue. Because right now there's like only 30 million taxpayers in Nigeria.
Can you imagine out of 250 or 200, million people? Yeah. And even more importantly, for the government spending, part of the role of government is to spend money to do infrastructure. So, but if the government's, the only money they can control is about 15%.
That's not good.
So I'm just saying, while your theory is probably right, there are many sides to every story. There's also this theory that it has run away from them. Now, that's one problem. The other problem they have is the volatility of the Naira. With the oil theft and all that. So I was reading somewhere, I think the Bank of America was saying recently that the Naira might have to be devalued again on the international market. So it's a very, very interesting issue there.
And one thing I would say is, this has become even more pronounced within the last 7 years of this administration in Nigeria, where you have two vastly different exchange rates.
Sorry, I can't help but laugh. So I saw the Naira was like 850. Well, I was looking at the CBN has a little banner. It's like 400. I'm like, really?
You're looking at over 100% more.
Yes, 100% more.
Yeah.
Right.
So and that's the thing, and that's something that would need to be. That's something that they need to arrest. This vast difference in. And when you have a situation like that, it gives so much leverage for people who are into arbitrage to make a lot of money. Imagine that some of these so-called,
BDCs,
so it gives them a lot of arbitrage. And
that to me doesn't make sense, because these same BDCs actually are within the CBN. I'm sorry to say. So imagine you have this Oga or this manager who is at the CBN, and this particular guy happens to have 2 or 3 licenses, even though you are legally supposed to have 1 license. And every week you are getting, I don't remember the number. So if a regular Nigerian wants to pay for admission to a school in the UK or to a school in the US for dollars, he can't.
Yeah.
But you have this guy who's getting like 2,000 every week.
Yeah.
Like, how does that
No questions asked. No questions.
It doesn't even make sense, and they have 3 or 4 licenses. So people have 15 licenses. I think Emefiele was saying that earlier in the summer. Too many licenses. They're trying to crack down. So on one hand, every week the CB, like it's like economical sabotage, whereby you are really, really killing yourself. And how do you expect that to function? So I understand that's a problem that you have to tackle, but also then there's the fact that the CBN only controls 15% of the currency. You know, 85% are all the big men that have it in their soccer way, or some have it in their village, or some.
I was going to tell you, I was going to give an anecdote about what happened in 2012. And, I'm not going to obviously name any politicians. But in 2012, when there was the flooding the flooding that happened in 2012 due to the Labo Dam thing that they opened in Cameroon, which, of course, we are seeing again this year, something similar. In Bayelsa State, there was this politician who happened to have his relation there in the federal government. And they had a vast amount of money, Nigerian denominated notes, thousands and all of that. They had it packed in a sucky way. And then that flood came. So when that flood came, obviously the flood damaged, the whole town was submerged. And that money that was in that sucky way was obviously damaged, was obviously, destroyed because they couldn't remove it. The flood came, with such, it came with such ferocity. Mm-hmm. So, and they had to hospitalize this person, this man that had the money, had to go to the hospital. And according to as the story goes,
maybe his blood pressure was so high.
Oh yeah, absolutely. His body, it went through the roof. And as the story goes, what then his relation that was then in the federal government of Nigeria, called him and said, look, there is still more where this came from. And that was how that was how they were able to calm him down. But the point there is that, in spite of all of these policies that they are doing to try to, fight this, try to bring more control of Naira, to the federal government, a vast majority of the Naira that's unaccounted for is in the hands of a few people in Nigeria, right? A vast majority of it. So, CBN does what they need to do to, they do what they need to do to kind of bring as much Naira under their control as possible. But, these people, after this is done, things would eventually at some point go back to the previous status quo. So, because... so that's Nigeria. That's the Nigerian circumstance, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really sad, though, where you have no control over your currency. And then the policies in place, like with the BDCs and CBN, those policies are actually hurting the economy, fundamentally. So that's really, really a problem. I don't know. On that note, I think we'll call it quits. Thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate you. Thanks for listening. The intent of this is to inform and to educate and sometimes entertain, not to depress. So just kind of, keep Nigeria in your thoughts and prayer. And hopefully somebody listens to this that is able to make change. We talked about the currency and the devaluation, which is quite abysmal. Thanks for being here, guys. Really appreciate it. Please don't forget to follow us on our social media handles at Lost Lagosians. If you have any questions, send an email to lostlagosians@gmail.com. Until next time, this is Brother Mike, and we'll catch you next one. Thanks, guys. Yeah, bye.
Yeah, that was a good discussion. But yeah, this Nigeria, my brother, Nigeria.
Another level.
The wahala. Now just God 90 save us for that country. Can't scare.
Only God, man. Only God.